Well, something we did recently is Olivia and I and our significant others, of course, but we went in on a half cow from a regenerative farm in Illinois, and this farm does something very unique. They grow all of their livestock's own food, which is not common at all, which we learned when we had gone to the farm, and it's helped with the health of the animals tremendously. And this farm is, I mean, it's just like, it's a family that runs it, and you can get meats. It's an hour away from St. Louis, but we went in on a half cow, so both our fridges are like, or freezers are like stocked for probably a very long time here.
I know.
With some incredible meat. And when I, like, you notice the difference so drastically when you transition from like a farm raised animal, like where you can go and like actually see the animal and see the farm and like see what they're feeding them, versus I just blanked out the word.
Versus buying things at the grocery store,
like
you're very disconnected
yeah.
as well, like from the food, and you don't know what they've been being fed, and you can buy grass-fed beef and whatever, but it's still like a whole thing, and
it's still mass produced. It's still like it's still an element of being processed in a way that's like just a little bit more than I guess what you get from the farm that we're getting stuff from.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think back on my life sometimes, and I was like, I was vegetarian for 4 years, and now I'm going and buying like fancy beef from a fancy farm. But truly though, one of the things when I was vegetarian that was a big deal to me, that put me over the edge to cut out meat, was because of the sustainability problems of the planet and the horrible carbon footprint that things have. And you can say whatever you want about all like the different things that's happening in like the meatless space now in comparison to that, but that's what's nice about, okay, now I eat meat and it comes from like this fancy regenerative farm with good like sustainability practices, because like that speaks to my old self who went vegetarian.
Yeah, I definitely went through phase 2 where I was just like, no meat. I didn't want meat. I couldn't touch it. And then I just was like, I don't feel so good. And yeah, that's controversial too to say that, but now I feel good now. And when you're when you're working out and lifting, like some people thrive off of a vegan diet. Mm-hmm. But it's biology. Biology is not like foolproof. It's not 100% for one person. Like it's not 100% for anyone. So that's why
that's what makes it really confusing to figure it out for yourself, because it's like, God damn it, like I just want the answer. I don't want to spend 5, 10, 25 years trying to figure out what's biologically correct for me.
Yeah.
But I had a really good friend of mine was fully vegan for a few years, and then when she got pregnant with her first child, she started to eat meat again, and she's like very chill about it. She was like, it wasn't a whole big to do for her about like values and whatnot. She just felt like, I mean, she's an incredibly intuitive person to begin with, and so she just, intuitive eating, if you will, she felt like, I just feel like eating meat, so my body must be needing it for this pregnancy. Yeah. That's why I was like, isn't that a thing for pregnancy? Not sure, maybe it was just her, but that's what happened for her, and I'm pretty sure she's eaten meat ever since.
Yeah. There you go. It's different for everyone. I was gonna say something else along those lines and stuff, but it slipped my mind. But anyways, health is so fun. But there's something else that you've been doing. Like food's definitely like a big one, and it's definitely one I think is probably the most triggering for people is food and talking about food. And I mean, we've talked about this, like my plate, my business and stuff.
Well, and I've got to go off on that really quick, because I think I'm so glad that I had this experience where I was vegetarian, to have such a strong like opinion on that whole people talking about what each other's eating and giving input on what other people are choosing to eat. Like I am so against anyone giving any 2 cents to anybody else about like, oh, you should try to eat more of this, you should try to eat less of this. I say after I just told people probably cut out processed foods. That one, overarching simplified, okay, I feel like it's a little bit different.
That's a little different.
But when it comes to keto, carnivore, vegan, vegetarian, I was vegetarian for 4 years. A lot of times during that when I was cooking in my own kitchen, I was just simply vegan, but I would be vegetarian when I would, like, you know, go out to eat or get food with friends, kind of a deal. And it drove me crazy because people have, you know, that overarching kind of stereotype of like the vegan or vegetarian friend in the group of like, oh my God, they're so preachy. It drove me crazy because it felt like people put that narrative onto me that I wasn't going for and I didn't ask for, because I would be at like even a work event, sitting down at a dinner with coworkers. Somebody there maybe knew I was vegetarian, but most people didn't, because again, it's like my business. That has nothing to do with work or my human relationships with people. But we'd be sitting at a dinner and everyone orders their food. They hear me order, you know, a pasta or a salad or something meatless. And then they go, oh, right, because Olivia is vegetarian. And everyone goes, oh,
like, what are you vegetarian?
What? Yeah. You want to tell us why? Like, what made you make that choice? And I'm like, we're all sitting down to eat. Y'all just ordered steaks and you really want to ask me that question now. Am I supposed to say, you know, hey, now is an inappropriate time? Or am I supposed to say like, oh, like just because I want to? Like, because that's not even a real answer if you ask me. Like, you asked me and then you're going to call me preachy when I say my reasons.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally, sometimes people would be sitting in front of me like eating a burger and being like, that's so interesting, tell me why you're a vegetarian. And I'm like, why do you want to hear that as you're currently eating a burger? It doesn't click for me. And so I have since then, I've, you know, as time goes on and the world has made all of these different kind of trendy changes when it comes to diet. Like, let's be real, being vegan was really trendy for a while. Being carnivore even had its moment. And so I feel like diet trends, like they're trends, and people are just doing their best to keep up to, you know, the oat milk, almond milk train was huge for a while. Now we're like, that's filled with glyphosates and sugar. You should actually not eat any of that. Nobody can keep up these days. So it's my true opinion, especially unlearning a lot of what I thought I knew in the vegetarian world about health, and unlearning it or relearning new things when it comes to, you know, protein's importance and meat sources importance, and, you know, whatever different viewpoint that you want to put on your diet, whether you're super new school and into like science and innovation, or whether you're super old school and you want to call it like, oh, this is the ancestral diet of that people have been eating for thousands of years. Whatever you want to do or think that is your best mode, like, there you will find supporting evidence and supporting science on it. You will also find supports against it. I think that's true for any diet across the board. I am so glad that I had the experience of becoming vegetarian and now eating meat, because I so truly think, like, my plate, my business. Please don't comment on my choices of what I am and am not planning to eat today. I had dinner with my family recently and I wasn't drinking water with my meal. And everyone was like, Liv, do you need water? Like, oh my gosh, like, let me get you water. Like, you haven't drank any water this whole meal. Well, currently I'm doing a thing where I don't drink water while I'm eating.
Yeah,
like,
digestion
yes, thank you. I'm like, and I'm not gonna get into it now, but I'm good. I don't need a water. It's fine. If you give me water, great, I'll drink it after, but like, I'm good. We don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
My plate, my business, same goes for anyone across the board. And I know you know this very well. My fiance has picked up many different diets since I've known him.
Yeah.
He has tried elimination diets, he fasts, he's done carnivore, he's done keto. I have watched him go through many cycles. And sometimes I do get a little worried because I love him so much. I'm like, I don't know if that's a healthy one. But to be honest, I know and I trust him that, like, he's doing it out of like his own biohacking curiosity and his like health goals for himself. He's not like doing something out of like a dangerous or reckless way for like feeding his body. And truly, who am I to say? I don't have the science. I'm not God who actually knows the biohacking realities of what we all need based on anyone's genetics. So it's like, I'm glad that I feel that way because I can just watch him and be like, Okay, like that's the goal these days. I can be in supportive of whatever's the goal.
I think the biggest thing too is a lot of people, and I've been there, like I've been in that state where I was held captive to the diet that I was on and to the beliefs I had with what I consumed. And it's not a fun place to be. And I think the biggest thing that ends up happening is that when someone begins a health journey, or when someone starts, I guess you can say, seeing the light on something that's working for them, they assume that everybody around them needs to be on this journey with them.
It's almost hard to not, because like you get excited about it and you want to share.
But you think it's like, but your journey is not necessarily that person's journey.
It's so hard
and
to
so
remember.
It's just like your journey, maybe you've been gifted in this lifetime that you're going to figure out your best health. You're going to go down this hole and come out way better on the other side, and it's going to do you wonders. But somebody else's journey might just be tackling something that's totally not even in that area. And I think that's something that I've had to learn big time, and that just kind of gives you peace of like, what, worry about yourself. It's not your job to have to control everyone around you, because that's just really unrealistic and extremely fatiguing and just not your place.
And I think where that becomes extra hard is family.
Yes.
Because you care so much about them and you want them to be living their best lives too. And you can't tell other people how they should feed their bodies.
No, you can't. You can have your thoughts on it, but it's just like, it's their journey, it's their choices. It's their, they'll experience the repercussions of their choices regardless. So it's like, you don't need to tell them. They're already feeling it. They already know it.
That's the thing, is like, it's hard when you feel like, oh, maybe they don't know that drinking a gallon of orange juice in the morning is actually just filled with sugar. Maybe they don't realize that. Maybe I should tell them.
If I tell them, then they'll change everything, and it's like, wait, tell me more.
You want that? No, it's not. It's gonna be like, shut the fuck up, I like what I like. You know what I mean? It's like, again, don't comment on what I'm eating today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's when I was first, when I found out I was pregnant with the second, I just had this crazy craving for Cocoa Pebbles. I've not had cereal in years, especially that type of sugar cereal. And I think I had a couple boxes of those, or I had something in the house. And my mom came to visit that week, this was also when I was going to tell her I was pregnant. And she, I guess, had noticed some of my groceries, and she remarked it. She didn't say anything, but she noted it. And then eventually, when we told her the news, and I was just like, so that's why you see the food that I have. She's like, oh my God, I literally was like, oh, okay, I've never seen Rachel buy those before, but okay, she totally acknowledged it in her head. She's like, this isn't really Rachel. I'm like, and she doesn't usually eat this, and this is not her lifestyle. Like, what is this? But she didn't say anything. But then once I told her, she's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Mom's intuition.
I had muffins and all these things. I was like, I don't care. It's my first trimester. Give me what I want.
I mean, from what I've heard, first trimester, it's like, look, if you can eat, good job.
Yeah,
if you can keep anything down.
It's just 3 months of trying to survive. So if you have a craving for anything, just go for it. Don't judge yourself. Give yourself grace. It's a journey.
And give other people grace. My plate, my business. That's the only motto when it comes to food and wellness.
Yeah.
Unless you want to hear about my personal journey, and then I can totally talk your ear off about how I like to eat and whatnot. But if nobody asks, shut the fuck up, because it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think you know what? If you're gonna, I don't know. There's some people that get really angry with it. Well, maybe we shouldn't go there. But
go there. We can cut it out if need be.
Okay. I'm doing the best to be my healthiest version of myself. You're judging that and doing everything that I personally do not do because it affects me negatively. So in the long run, if you want to judge me, that's fine. But I'm not the one with 15 different prescription pills, and I'm not the one having to go to routine doctor's appointments, and I'm not the one who's experiencing hair loss, and I'm not the one that's experiencing all these different problems. Maybe there's something about it. I don't know.
I think that's why I get a little bit defensive too of my fiance when people are like, oh my God, what's he doing these days? I'm like, his best.
His best. Oh, that's
he's caring, and he's being mindful, and he's putting efforts towards goals that he's made.
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, like, he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you think about what he's eating, what he's not eating, or like, look, I mean, I'll be the first person to say I've gotten annoyed with some of his diets because I just went grocery shopping and now you're not gonna eat any of these groceries. Now I have to eat all of the groceries before they go bad. I bought for 2 people, not one. Thanks for the update. But ultimately, though, it's like, again, like, that's why I'm so glad for my experience, because it just makes me like so at peace with like watching what he's doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we talk about other big things that I have mentioned multiple times on this podcast, a big thing that I do that I am personally obsessed with. And I cannot talk from a scientific mind on all of it other than things that I feel like I've come to know, but I guess what I have to say about this is like my personal feelings and experiences with it. I cold plunge every single morning, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I love the cold plunge. Your husband built a cold plunge.
He built a cold plunge, you guys. It's like 700 pounds. It will be moving with us wherever we go on this planet Earth. For as long as it's
because he loves it, right?
He loves it, yeah.
He loves it. I love my cold plunge way more than my fiance. I am the cold plunger of us. By the way, I think people
you love
wonder,
it more than your fiance loves it.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, you're right. That sounded bad. Thank you for the clarification. No, yeah, I think people think that out of us too, that he's like more like woo-woo wellness, and I'm like, no, like he skips that all the time. Like he has a lot of times where he's like, not for me.
Yeah.
I am the dedicated, every morning when I get up, I go do my 3 minutes in 45-degree temperature water that I plunge in, and I personally love it. I know that cold plunges have become really, really popular in like this wellness area of life in the past like maybe year or two. And so a little bit on that for people who haven't heard about this trend or aren't really aware of why I would dunk myself in 45-degree water for 3 minutes, like at the break of dawn each day. And there are so many health benefits that people have found when you, like, the goal of cold plunging is not to acclimate to the cold water, it's not to get used to it, it's not to like, I guess I don't know what other people's perceptions would be, but the goal is to activate your like cold shock proteins. So when you put your body into a state of kind of like distress and
like fight or flight, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that, but it actually helps you work out of that mode, because you're getting used to like this regular shock, but you're at the same time releasing cold shock proteins that have such healing benefits to your body. So that's why it's a biohacking situation, because you're hacking your biology. Our systems, I mean, again, if you believe all of that kind of ancestral stuff about the way that our bodies have developed over time, we're not meant to be sitting at a desk 9 to 5 inside away from the sunlight. Like, we are built to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. First became exposed to them, I think 2018 or 2019, and I want to point out this show that has like tons of stats on it, because there's like a Wim Hof method, and if you go to, I think it should still be on Netflix, it's the Goop Lab series by Gwyneth Paltrow. Season 1, there's a specific episode where she interviews Wim Hof, who is like the cold man, and he takes a few of the employees from Goop Lab to do this whole thing, and some of them have like, you know, really bad panic attacks, like they have certain things in their lives that they're trying to overcome, and it'll go through like all the tests they've done on Wim Hof, all this, like the stats are there. Highly recommend going and watching that if like you do want to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, Wim Hof is essentially, like you said, the cold man, like the father of a lot of like cold shock therapy, and he lost his wife pretty young, and so he went down a rabbit hole of learning a lot of breathing as well. So a lot of people do Wim Hof method for deep breathings when you're in cold, and that's one of the ways why the cold plunge is so amazing as well. So not only are you activating cold shock proteins in your system, which helps to burn through brown fat, which is supposed to be like the kind of stubborn fat. The shakiness, like shivering, the shivering that you get increases your metabolism, increases the burning of brown fat for even after hours, like 2 to 4 hours after the cold exposure. It improves circulation throughout your body. It, for me personally, it's so funny because it's something that I didn't used to think of about myself, but I guess I've really realized that I'm quite an anxious person actually. I do have a lot of anxiety, and something that so naturally helps me with that is the cold plunge, because you know what I'm doing in the cold plunge? Not only am I habit stacking with my exposure to sunlight first thing in the morning and sitting calmly in nature for even just the 3 minutes that I'm in there, but I am doing deep breaths of breath work. And what's really good for anxiety and people who are anxious is just breathe.
Yeah.
And when I'm in there, I do these really long, deep breaths, and I count them because in my head, I know how many breaths it takes me till my 3 minutes are up. So that's how I can keep monitoring it myself without looking at a clock. But that breath work that I'm doing in there, it makes me so calm. And that's one of the ways that you retrain your body from continuously entering a fight or flight mode to being able to be faced with shock and actually think through it and work through it in more of like a calm, graceful way. So I am just like the biggest proponent of the cold plunge. And what I do when I wake up in the morning and I go put my swimsuit on and I go outside and I get my first sunlight and, you know, grounding of my bare feet in the grass, and I hop into my cold plunge to do my deep breathing, kind of a meditative practice for 3 minutes in the morning. I do not go wash it off essentially with a hot cold shower, as amazing as that would sound after being so cold. Because the goal is to keep the benefits of like that shivering and the boost of the metabolism that you get for that time after actually retrains your metabolism. So over time and over consistency, you've actually boosted your metabolic rate and like are healing your metabolic system to the point where you just have higher functioning of it. That the only thing that you can like do to warm your body is to move your body. So I immediately go to the gym after, and I have never in my life before cold plunging been a first thing in the morning gym person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll wake you up. It's
You
very...
do not need coffee after a cold plunge.
No.
No.
It's got a really interesting effect on you immediately after
The endorphin rush that you get.
Yeah, it's really
It releases
it's
endorphins.
absolutely. It has this weird addictive like thing to it where you're just like, I want to get back in. Let me
I
just
think
get
I'm
back
in-
in for a second.
I think I'm addicted to my cold plunge.
Oh,
I
it's
think
not
I
the
am.
worst thing to be addicted to.
No, because like you said, and even you don't need freaking caffeine after that. So guess what? It stopped me from getting up in the morning and doing caffeine. You know how people say, oh, you should wait like an hour or two.
Mhm.
Well, now my habits are cold plunge, gym, come home, and then I get my treat.
That's definitely something that I do on intuition if I feel it. Not right now because I'm in my 3rd trimester, but I've done I think like three total in my lifetime recently. But Luke always asks, do you want to come
3
cold
cold
plunges? Yeah, 3
plunges.
cold plunges.
Okay.
Sorry, 3 cold plunges. But I did it like when my body was like, I think you should cold plunge, and I like would get back in, and I think that's a great place to end because guess who just woke up. But thanks for sharing that because I think it's really cool to hear from someone that actually has been doing it consistently.
And people think I'm all woo-woo about it. I'll probably talk about it more. No worries. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.